In all my years of truck driving, and whether I was a solo driver or a team driver, I've never really experienced the extremes of, this type of behavior when it is a hidden agenda connected to um, shady individuals that belong to these sinister groups that infiltrate and weasel their way in with an hidden agenda, with specific ulterior motives. So, in a normal course of any job or career or function, you have people that you work around, work with, maybe closely, maybe, indirectly. But everything is based on conflict resolution, communication skills, etc. But when you're dealing with a specific group that has a hidden agenda from day one to come in with a bad attitude, or to come in knowing that the overall assignment and mission is to create a false narrative, collect data, collect information that they are going to try to twist to make a person seem different than what they are or in a negative light. This is completely different than the normal course or functioning of, workplace communication or lack thereof. This is a group that is specifically targeting an individual in order to come up with all type of defamation and lies, and twist their character or twist the truth and make something up out of thin air. The reason why it's so important, and I keep stressing communication amongst Soul Tribe, communication amongst divine beings and earth angels and star seeds, is because I do recognize many of you are comfortable in your cushion and your bubble that you built for yourself. And many of you seem to think, it appears that you all believe that that's where it stops and that's all there is. And I wish I could tell you that that's all there is, to keep doing what you're doing, for now, and keep spreading your light and sharing your, special gifts and abilities with the world. And it simply stops there. But that doesn't align with prophecy or you being in a specific place in a specific time where these advanced beings are going to lift you, or a rapture, or safely escort and guide you, star seeds, off the planet, for those of you who have earned your way to go back home amongst the stars. There's really no other alternatives, Soul Tribe family. It's either you're putting this work in for a due date that you are going to collect on, being able to hear job well done and go back home safely escorted, when these beings come back, or you choose to remain here for a definite reset, a definite cleansing, a definite removal of these Luciferians and their offspring. The war that began never completed or finished. The war that took place in the heavens amongst your etheric parents, or your higher advanced beings that you are connected to, it didn't complete. It started. It had a beginning and a middle, and it has its peaks, its ups and downs, and it ended up spilling and leaking over onto this planet, and neighboring planets and other planets suffered and caught strays as a result. The Milky Way, for those of you who may know and may not know, is a remnant of a planet that got destroyed as a result of the wars that took place in the heaven. The Milky Way is not just a bunch of, rocks that's in the way for the sake of being there. That was literally a planet called Meldick, also known as V. And this planet Meldick, was destroyed because there was a war that took place in the heavens. And um, when Archangel Michael was manning what we know as Nibiru, or Planet X, smacked into this planet by accident. It wasn't on purpose. The life that was on the surface of the planet, the peaceful individuals, they were all unalived or removed. But what remained was those warriors, ferocious reptilian beings right next door to this planet that um, survived and was angry. There was no reasoning. There was no negotiation. There was no talking about it. There was no what happened. Their technology that was in the ocean, right? Those who were on the surface was immediately wiped out. Those who would have negotiated, those who would have, pieced it out and talked about anything that, those with level heads. But the ones in the ocean were separated by those on the surface. Those were the ones who, you can't reason with. You can't, like many of these, wicked and evil devils and demons and these cults and covens who lack common sense and the ability to be level-headed and level-minded and get a grip on themselves and not do dumb stuff for the sake of doing dumb stuff, not stalking and wasting gas and targeting individuals because of hate and jealousy. You want to take what belong to them, what don't even belong to you. Not that mindset is a completely different mindset. And so when Archangel Michael, who and him and the Heavenly One who sits on the throne and the elders and the other, beings, which Planet X, by the way, used to be listed on NASA.gov as an official planet many years ago. It just recently, within the past several years, been listed as a theoretical planet, but there was a time going back some years ago that it was actually listed amongst the regular planets. And Planet X is Nibiru, and Nibiru is 3.5 times the size of the planet Earth, which means it can't come directly in our orbit or solar system because its magnetic push against our magnetic field causes the planet to flip and turn on its axis to move away from Planet X Nibiru, which causes massive tsunamis and disruptions and earthquakes and upheavals for this planet. So it has to remain back and launch smaller ships that come in and collect their star seeds, their children. And many of you are under the impression that these are monsters and wicked beings, and yes, they are disagreeable. Yes, they are agreeable and disagreeable, just like in many other cultures, and even in your own family, you have agreeable and disagreeable, good and bad. Amongst these beings who are highly intelligent and advanced, they don't play around, they don't mess around, right? They are scientists, biologists, as well as warriors, amongst much other. They are responsible for many of you's existence, right, as species on the planet. There are many different species on the planet of highly advanced beings that put their seed and germinated their seed on this planet, whether in the waters to germinate or whether, directly influencing their DNA and their genetics to speed up the process of life on this planet and many others throughout the solar system or the galaxies. These beings are considered the La Familia of the star systems. They go where they want, they do as they please. No one can tell them otherwise other than the 24 elders and Panatharu. Panatharu being the much more ancient of Pa-Anuna or the Anunnaki. There's much talk about Anunnaki now. However, when you had great scholars, particularly one in particular, the master teacher known as Dr. Malachi Zior, who stood before the masses for many decades, teaching about the Anunnaki, expounding on them, nobody wanted to listen. People wanted to focus on all the wrong things. But now that there's evidence and proof, and you have Three-Eye Atlas, and you have these massive crafts the size of Manhattan and the size of Texas pulling up and coming from the far reaches outside of our galaxy and solar system, intelligently guided and pulling up to the sun and refueling and shooting over to Jupiter or Saturn and shooting over to Mars and then coming back around. Now that these things are happening and people have the technology to record different sightings, they can no longer cover up and hide the truth of what the master teacher was trying to tell us. Everybody who came to touch the hearts and wake up the masses have been accused of things they never done. I've experienced the defamation and the lies coming from family members and ex-lovers and ex-people in my life that who were supposed to love and care about me, lie for no damn reason whatsoever. Try to soil my character and defame me in heinous, atrocious, cowardly ways. Things that I've never done, they try to put on me. And so when you have this group, this sinister group that's trying to cover up their crimes and keep two people separated and, keep confusion within people's lives. Let's say if you have a divine partner and they hack your devices and they know who you're communicating with, reaching out, crushing on, etc. This group is massive enough, abusing their resources, that they send a special group of people to that person on that end, keep them in the fog, create a whole illusion around them, lie to them, get them caught up in something that they thinking is an adventure and a fantasy, a dream come true, when all they're doing is shooting themselves in the foot, when all they're doing is setting themselves up for failure, lifetimes of misery for not listening to their intuition, following their heart, and allowing themselves to be guided by their own spirit team. And irregardless of what family members and siblings and cousins and hateful, jealous, spiteful individuals around them intentionally trying to mislead them say, knowing that they have to back up and separate themselves and allow the divine, develop that faith, unshakable, unwavering faith in the divine, and also the willingness to go within and look at all childhood wounds, no matter how painful they are. You got to attack it. You got to address it. You can take your time, but you have to be consistent and willing to do so. This is the answer to coming out of being stuck in your head or being stuck, period. Healing. People talk about it as if it's a cliche, popular, but you have to actually do it. And that's the difference that separates those who are faking, pretending, acting like they put in the healing work versus those who are open and their life is an open book and you can't embarrass them no matter what lie you tell them, no matter what happened in their past that you expose. They're good with it. They can make not necessarily light of it, but they can say, okay, I might have made a mistake in my past, but this is who I am now. I might have went through trials and tribulations in my past, but this is who I become. My mission was to always go through what I went through to become this version of myself.